Today, we're going to discuss the tricks that a narcissistic parent plays. Now, if you're watching this video, you've probably been attracted to it because you have a narcissistic parent. And the first thing that you will know is that you're probably feeling very isolated, probably did for most of growing up. So let's look at the biggest trick that a narcissistic parent plays. The narcissistic parent will be brilliant at cutting you down, but in the public face, putting on most sweetness and light image. This is a very common trick. And from somebody that had a narcissistic parent myself, it's very isolating that my friends would come round the house and they'd all leave and they'd say the same thing. Oh, your mother's so lovely. And I was like, if you really knew what she was like, if there had been hidden cameras back in the day, folks, you'd have got the other side. And the first trick, and the very isolating trick that the narcissistic parent will play is the brilliant two-faced approach to life. And growing up, that's a very difficult dynamic to navigate. It's very isolating, especially when your friends don't believe you. I think I had one friend at school that would even entertain the conversation that I had, but it was generally a very isolating experience in life. Now, if you followed this channel, if you're regular here, you'll know that my approach is more empowered than that. Everything happens for a reason. We thank our narcissistic parents for giving us the skills to create the boundaries and to develop the skill sets that is missing in life. So this is not a video to whinge and feel sorry for everybody, but what this is an explanation to you. Because I've worked with people that have a narcissistic parent. And there's so many people that will say, you shouldn't say that to your mother or your father. So people that don't have narcissistic parents are very swift to judge. They're very swift to say, oh, you should mend things, you should heal things. It's up to you to make the halfway house. And you'll already know, if you're a healer, an empath, a light worker, you'll already know that every single compromise that you make just leads them to believe that you're wrong even more than you were before. Compromise leads to them taking more. You giving more leads to them taking more. It's an impossible task to navigate. Now, let's look at the plus side. If you've got a narcissistic parent, the odds are that you're probably pretty good with people. You're probably a good parent yourself. You're probably an empath, a healer. You probably have great skills and you probably care. And what's more, you're probably here to do something way bigger picture than you actually realize at the moment. Unfortunately, if you don't get this right, if you don't wake up to the dynamic that we're talking about now and deal with narcissism and learn when to switch off, when to say no, and when to realize that enough is enough. It's all about boundaries, folks. So my regulars on the channel will know this. If you're reaching this for the first time, then narcissists are attracted into our world. We attract them. We attract them until they violate our personal space or they say stuff that's so cruel or unkind that we say no. Now, not everybody's lucky enough to reach that point. Some people will generally be suicidal and possibly commit suicide. And I think that this dynamic of narcissistic parents should be looked into more, should be understood more by people that don't. But my understanding of it through dealing with other people that have narcissistic parents is that unless you have a narcissistic parent, it's an impossible thing to counsel people through. You can't believe what it's like unless you have lived through the abuse, the facade, and this isolating world where no one believes you because they're portraying a split personality. Split personality. So if your friends come around, they are the most wonderful person in the room. You can't do enough for your friends. At the moment that they leave, normal service is resumed. And another trait that the narcissistic parent has is that they'll be great when the guests are around. People will come around the house, and as soon as they leave, they'll start nitpicking. They'll start complaining, they'll start showing their true colors. They can only put on the face for so long and then they have a meltdown. Almost a second the door closes, they go into relief mode because now they don't have to lie anymore. They can be their true selves. This is recurrent patterns, folks. These are things that you're going to have to navigate if you've got a narcissistic parent. And if you've got someone that's complaining about a narcissistic parent, this is what they're dealing with. It's very, very isolating. The narcissistic parent doesn't just turn against you themselves, they get your friends to start doubting you. They get your whole network to start doubting you. They'll undermine you. And not only that, they'll tell stories that undermine you as well. And they don't always have to be true. So one of the big tricks that my mum has is to tell people in the family stuff about me that it didn't matter whether it was true or not. Now, there was enough stuff that was true that would have given her a field day, but that's not enough for the narcissist. The narcissist also has to make things up just to compound it, just to give it a little bit of extra spice. So let's fast forward. Where does it lead? Where does it lead? Well, I don't talk to my mum now. And quite frankly, based on the relationship that we have, I've made peace with it. How do I do it from a healing perspective? Now, hate the behavior, don't hate the person. So she's been sent here for a reason. I've attracted her into my world for a reason. She's given me a set of skills which I wouldn't have had if I didn't have a narcissistic mother. So on that basis, I don't hate my mother. I just choose not to spend any time with her. And that's a critical distinction, folks, because hate takes energy and it takes a piece out of you as well. And that's not to say that there hasn't been an extended period in my life when I did hate her. I mean, there's been on, off, on, off, on, off, but the final awareness was so profound for me that it's like, okay. And she really did exceed herself as far as cruel things that you can say. When a narcissist feels like you're escaping the web, they'll throw the kitchen sink at you. And at that stage, they'll use all their leverage. They'll hit you with the cruelest, meanest, most hard thing that you possibly can deal with. And if you can get through that, your unstoppable resilience lies beyond that point. And for me, that was just the boundary of, okay, that's fine. Let's go. You go. And let's also talk about the healing part, because we are all healers, empaths, light workers. So you hate the behavior, not the person. I don't hate her. I hate her behavior. And I refuse to put up with it. And if I never see her again, I ain't losing a second of sleep, folks. That's the reality of dealing with a narcissistic parent. In my world, she is as good as dead as far as my relationship with her or my interaction. And some of you say, oh, you're a healer. You're the heart guy. You hate your mum. I don't hate my mum, but I don't depend on her. I expect nothing from her. She has given nothing to me except obviously my life, which I am grateful to a degree. Why am I here? Why am I here? I've always known it was a bigger picture thing, and I've always known that there's a bigger purpose for my life. And I've also known that I chose my parents. So we're taking the empowered approach. And if you want an exercise to really help you, then you can work with your ancestral energy. So for the empath, the healer, the light worker, especially of this generation, we're going through a vibrational shift, folks. Here's how it works. Here's why you're feeling so much pain and why I had to go through so much pain. So we hate behaviors that our parents do to us. And then somewhere down the line, we become that behavior. You'll find yourself saying something that your parents said to you that you didn't like, and now here you are saying it. It's energetically entwined within you. And then what you do, domino effect, you pass it to the next generation and the next generation and the next generation. So there's been a train of narcissism throughout the family. Narcissists are usually abused as children. And ironically, From my perspective, my mum did a lot of counseling because she felt that her mother didn't want her, that she was rejected by her mother. So rather than deal with it, and this is a woman that trained as a psychiatric nurse and was looking after the mental health of the masses, and actually believed herself to be a very competent psychiatric nurse. So delusion is part of the equation here as well. So rather than actually heal it, she decided to amplify it and pass it on. And that's what most people do. They have an issue, and rather than deal with it, they pass it to the next generation. And stuff like this can go back from generation to generation to generation to generation. So I'm not directly dealing with my relationship with my mother. I'm dealing with an ancestral thread that has been going all the way through my ancestry on that side of the equation. And it's my job to deal with it. And if you're watching this video, it's almost certain, especially if you're still watching now, that that is part of your remit. That you agreed, whether you remember this or not, before you were born to come and be where the buck stopped. And the only reason you're going through so much trauma is because you're able to deal with it. And you need to wake up. We all need to wake up now, folks. Wake up, my friends, wake up. We need to wake up for the fact that we came here for a bigger purpose. And we needed the narcissistic parent in our world to wake us up to that. Otherwise, we would be happily sleeping throughout life and not realize that we're here for a bigger purpose. So that's the bottom line, folks. Yes, it's painful dealing with a narcissistic parent, dealing with any narcissist, a narcissistic partner, probably even, just as bad, except you don't have that genetic link with them. But we're here to create our own boundaries. We're here to step in our power, which is what this is all about. And we're also here to do something more positive to help to raise the vibration of the planet, folks. And if you're watching this and you're resonating with it, then please remember to like and subscribe. This channel is here as a resource to help you to move through the most difficult things in your life. And if you've got a narcissistic parent and the stuff that I'm talking about here resonates with you, there's going to be a ton of resources coming your way if you follow this channel. But I do read all the comments, I do appreciate them, and I do create content around them. So do get involved. You are welcome, my friends. You are welcome because you're born with two families, the family that you were actually physically born into and your light worker spiritual family. And that's what we're here to connect you to. So, folks, we've acknowledged the pain, but we're coming from a more empowered perspective. And it's never too late to turn the corner and to step up your game and to start shining your light as you were meant to do.